The Putin thing scares the shit out of me, though, because he's when it comes to warlords, he's a legitimate warlord who is in charge of. I didn't know that they had more nukes than us. I mean, I guess it's kind of a moot point, right? Because everybody's got
how many?
Everybody's got enough to kill everybody. How many times over?
Yeah,
isn't it something crazy like 10 times over?
Yeah, they did the math, and it was in double digits.
It's not good.
It's not good. But it's look, if you step back, everybody's thinking, okay, how did this fucked up situation happen? Well, it's been building, obviously, right? I mean, how much news coverage did we have of? Well, they're adding more troops to the border with Ukraine. Wonder what they're doing. Could it be military exercises? So there was a tremendous amount of speculation leading up to what the fuck is going on, which, in a sense, points to how lacking the intelligence is on Putin, on plans and intentions, right? And that's a heavy lift, right, to come up with that sort of intel, because ideally you're going to want a human source. You can get SIGINT, you can get whatever, you can gather intelligence from a variety of sources, but you really want human access, people who can tell you, you know what, I had a meeting with him, and boy, I tell you what, he was pissed off, or this is what he said, or this is how he looked. Without that, without knowing what plans and intentions are, or being able to gather intel on, say, the command staff, everybody was kind of speculating. Will he, won't he? What's he going to do? Well, stepping back, if you look at what he's done, he's been pretty damn consistent, right, over the years. And so I guess, in a part, a lot of it was optimistic thinking. Okay, he just wants the eastern part of the country. He's just going to go in there and take that because, maybe he's already got it. He's declared those two republics legit. Maybe that's all he wants. He's already taken Crimea. And so I think that was optimistic thinking, hoping that, the guy's not going to lose his shit and go all the way through the country. Well, that's what he's done. And in part because, again, if you look at what he did in Chechnya, if you look at what he did helping Assad in Syria, if you look at what he did annexing Crimea, if you look at Georgia, Abkhazia, South Ossetia, every step of the way, he's been following in his mind this stated desire that he's made very public over the years to rebuild his sphere of influence. Right. So in part, you could argue we kind of missed the obvious. Right. We didn't see the obvious in front of us because we were all kind of hoping and mirroring our values onto Putin, who doesn't deserve to have our values mirrored onto him, because we're thinking maybe he just wants a little bit. Maybe he's just trying to make a point. Maybe he just wants them to sign a charter saying they won't be part of NATO. So anyway, my point being twofold, I guess. We missed the boat on that. We missed it in part because we're always trying to be optimistic and trying to think, okay, well, maybe they think like we do. Maybe there's a rational process there. And then part of it is intel was lacking. And
when it comes to intel, when you're talking about like in-person intel, how difficult is that to get on a guy like Putin?
It's really tough. It's a very heavy lift. The higher they go up the food chain, because the smaller your pool of potential access points are, right? So, you've got some mid-level person floating around, a government office somewhere in some target country, and, maybe you've got lots of options. Okay, who do they socialize with, right? Who can I get access to? Who might, be next to them? Do they have a driver? Can I recruit the driver? There's things like that, right? Sometimes it's very simple. But Putin's had a increasingly small circle of close advisors and of people that he counts on and trusts. And part of that may be, the fact that was accelerated through the 2-year pandemic, where he decidedly was shutting himself off because he was paranoid, like a lot of people were, about COVID.